Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where pharmacists can fill your pet's prescriptions, helping you pamper and protect your pet with pills, peanut butter, toys, and treats. Stop into the store today or visit Safeway.com.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
A night of color, joy, and connection. That is what the Cool Facts Art Crawl promises to bring to Denver tomorrow in a street party for Pride Month, with open studio spaces packed with work from LGBTQ+ artists and allies. The best part? It's free. We'll have more ideas for your weekend in today's episode, after the news. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. Coming up, sounds from Boulder last night, where we learn more about the people injured in Sunday's firebomb attack.
It took me a while to come to reality and realize what was happening, even as I was watching it unfold before my eyes.
Plus, why renters may be particularly annoyed at a veto from Governor Jared Polis.
RealPage could be helping landlords drive up prices and revenues artificially.
Then, why Colorado's air quality is dangerous in the summer, and what can you do about it? And ideas for your weekend, including a fringey art festival.
It's like a cool chance to see some clowns or other artists that you've been keeping tabs on.
It is Thursday, June 5th. Here's the news in Colorado today. Governor Polis has vetoed an attempt to lower rent prices in Colorado. Lawmakers wanted to regulate the way landlords use algorithms to set their rents, arguing that it amounts to price fixing and collusion. Buzzy spoke with Denverite editor Andrew Kenny about how these systems work and what it means for renters.
Andy, how are landlords accessing these algorithms and what do they do?
So, Bazzi, these algorithms, it's a data product that's offered by companies like RealPage is the big one. And the idea is that as a landlord who subscribes to this, you're going to feed in your data about, well, how many apartments do you have? How many are rented? How many are vacant? What are you charging? How long have they been rented or vacant? And then the tech company is going to take that data and feed it into a big engine, which also has lots of similar data from other landlords in your area. It's going to churn them all up and it's going to spit out these pricing recommendations and say, here's exactly what you should charge for each and every one of these apartment units that you're managing. The big player in this, again, is this company called RealPage. They're estimated to be involved with maybe a quarter of all rental units around Denver. And this product, by the way, is really used by big landlords who manage big buildings. It's not something that mom and pop are going to be using.
People who advocate for tenants think this is dangerous. Why is that?
These landlords are supposed to be competing with each other, right? And yet they're kind of using this tool to exchange internal data. This is the allegation, is that use of these products adds up to collusion and anti-competitive behavior. One of the other big allegations is that RealPage is not just making recommendations, it's also pressuring landlords to follow those prices that it's giving them.
Pressuring? How so?
Well, the platform can actually require landlords to provide a justification when they want to disobey the algorithm. They have to write up a reason that they're doing that.
Wow.
That's according to a lawsuit. And it can also kind of encourage landlords to take units off the market when prices are dropping too low. You know, the big idea behind all this is that RealPage could be helping landlords drive up prices and revenues artificially beyond just what you would expect from supply and demand.
What justification, then, did Governor Polis give for vetoing a bill that would limit the use of these algorithms and platforms?
Well, he said he agreed with the intent of the bill. Price fixing and collusion would be bad, but he points out that those are already illegal under the state's antitrust law, and he argued that this bill could have ended up outlawing some legitimate uses of the technology. That lines up with how RealPage has defended itself. They say, we're not trying to fix the market, we're just trying to help landlords make good decisions and tap into the power of big data.
So now that Governor Polis has vetoed the bill, is that the end of the story? Do tenants just have to deal with these algorithms and companies can continue to operate this way?
Not necessarily. Colorado is actually one of several states, along with the U.S. government, who are suing RealPage and a group of landlords. They're alleging that, again, they were kind of improperly sharing information and engaging in anti-competitive behavior. So if that ends up going somewhere, it's possible that we still could see some kind of restrictions put on these practices. That was in large part a Department of Justice lawsuit. Unclear how or whether the Trump administration might continue that lawsuit.
Denverite's Andrew Kenny, thank you.
Thank you.
Yesterday was a long and somber day of prayer in Boulder.
I guess I'm feeling both proud to be Jewish, but also frustrated that it's no longer a given to be safe in our own community.
Megan Jones was one of more than 100 people who gathered outside of the Boulder County Courthouse yesterday morning in the same spot where, just days earlier, a man doused peaceful demonstrators in flames. They were walking to call attention to hostages held by Hamas. Sarah Sturtz was also at the courthouse yesterday. She belongs to the same synagogue, Bonai Shalom, as the first victim to be named and speak publicly after Sunday's attack. That's 88-year-old Barbara Steinmetz.
She's a Holocaust victim, and she's the one who said, "What the heck is wrong with our world?" She said, "Of course I'll be there as soon as I can to march."
Public officials at the gathering said Boulder will not be broken by hate, and the city stands against anti-Semitism. But it left Sturtz wanting more.
I listened to some people, and I thought, sounds all well and good, but actions speak louder than words.
A larger group of supporters filed into Boulder's Jewish Community Center for an evening vigil. It drew more than 1,000 people packed into the room and overflow areas. For the first time, the broader community heard from a victim of the attack. The person spoke anonymously, off stage, but in their own voice.
I heard a loud noise in the back of my legs burning and don't remember those next few moments. I was standing in the front and didn't see any of the event or the individual as it had initially unfolded. It took me a while to come to reality and realize what was happening, even as I was watching it unfold before my eyes. Even then, it somehow didn't seem real.
There were moments of defiance, reflections, and calls for people to do more to stand up to hate. Several law enforcement agencies provided security for the evening. Rachel Halpern, who was targeted but not burned in Sunday's attack, also spoke at length about what she experienced and what she hopes comes next.
I think one thing we really need is for law enforcement to recognize that even though we look like a powerful, strong, successful community, we are very vulnerable. We have been easy prey for 2,000 years, and we still are.
Also yesterday, the family of the suspect in Sunday's attack had their deportation blocked by a federal judge. The Trump administration is trying to send them back to Egypt. The suspect has been charged with a hate crime and several felonies, but the family members have not been charged with anything. The family now has a hearing scheduled for their deportation case next week. The start of June means it's ozone season in Colorado. But what the heck does that mean? CPR's Sam Brash has tracked this for years and is here to fill us in. Sam, I'm familiar with the ozone layer, but I actually don't know what ozone is.
Yeah, the ozone layer is way up in the stratosphere. That's a great thing because it blocks ultraviolet radiation from reaching us down here on the Earth. What we're talking about right now is ground level ozone. So ozone's a molecule with 3 oxygen atoms, and it's a dangerous lung irritant. Breathing it can trigger asthma attacks. It leads to more asthma development in kids. It can worsen respiratory infections like pneumonia, and Colorado has struggled with it for years, especially in the summer.
And what exactly comes with ozone season?
So ozone season is the period of time when the state's going to warn people about ozone pollution. It goes from June through really September, and the state's going to put out a daily ozone forecast, trying to let people know when ozone pollution is going to make it dangerous to be outside. And this happens a lot. So last year, the state issued 52 of these ozone action alerts, and the Front Range exceeded EPA's recommendation for safe ozone levels 40 times.
40 times? Why do we have so many ozone violations?
It's really a combination of the pollution we have on the Front Range and our weather. It's different from other kinds of pollution because it doesn't come directly out of a smokestack or tailpipe. It forms in the atmosphere when, emissions from traffic or oil and gas operations or heavy industry combine in the atmosphere. And then the catalyst to make that happen, the big spoon that kind of stirs the atmospheric pot here, is sunny, hot weather. We have a ton of that here on the Front Range. And that's why we really struggle with ozone pollution. In fact, the American Lung Association ranks Denver as the country's 6th worst metro area for ozone pollution.
Wow. So how bad is it?
So the EPA sets this, threshold for ozone pollution on hot days when we have a lot of these ozone ingredients in the atmosphere. Front Range ozone levels can go as much as 30% above those federal thresholds. And that's especially problematic for vulnerable populations like kids, older people, anyone with pre-existing lung conditions. And a lot of scientists and air quality advocates think that the current federal standard is too high and it should be even tougher to keep people safe.
So with that in mind, is anything being done to change that?
Yeah, Colorado has rules and programs to cut key ozone ingredients. We have incentives for electric lawn equipment, regulations to encourage cleaner oil and gas operations, and incentives for electric vehicles to encourage people to switch away from gas or diesel-powered cars. The state hopes those policies will get the Front Range into federal compliance by 2027, but air quality advocates say that they don't go far enough, they're not strict enough, and with climate change, you also get more heat, and that's going to make it even harder for the state to hit its ozone targets.
So is the advice for our listeners to keep themselves and their loved ones inside during those times?
Yeah, I think that's the basic thing you can do. Ozone is this really fragile molecule. As soon as it hits a wall or an object inside your house, it breaks down into normal oxygen. The other thing that you can do is if you want to go outside, do it in the morning. That's when ozone levels tend to be lowest, and it's the safest time to be outside.
That's great advice for morning people. CPR Sam Brash, thank you for breaking down the science.
You bet.
Speaking of things that want to make you stay inside and maybe lock your doors, it appears that clowns are having a moment, particularly this weekend in Denver. This is a clown named Featherbrain, who is one of several taking the stage in Denver's Fringe Festival. It's an annual event, but it's experiencing a jump in clown performances this year.
I think the reason why it's blowing up right now is because we live in a very absurd age, and we're really leaning into the absurdity.
Key Clark, aka Skeleton Key, another local clown you can see perform this weekend. And clowns, well, they're about much more than squirting flowers and oversized shoes.
Historically, as the jester, we are gifted the opportunity to make fun of whoever and whatever we want, and it's really important right now to have comedy to call out all the things that are happening.
Fringe festivals are put on around the world. The largest and most prominent is in Edinburgh, Scotland. These are arts events with few rules and no special selection process for performers. So you'll be able to see things that are experimental and uncensored. Denver's Fringe runs the gamut, from dance improv to cabaret acts and even dramatic theater. It tends to draw artists from all over, like Alice Gillette, who performs as Meat Show.
It's a cool chance to see some clowns or other artists that you've been keeping tabs on, but maybe haven't seen.
The festival runs through Sunday. It is one of several cultural happenings included in our weekly Colorado Arts Spotlight. It is written by CPR's Lauren Antonoff-Hart, and you can find the link to the full list in our show notes. Reporting for today's show came from KUNC's Lucas Brady Woods and Alex Murphy, Denverite's Kevin Beatty, and CPR's Tony Gorman. Remember to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app and tell a friend. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where pharmacists can fill your pet's prescriptions, helping you pamper and protect your pet with pills, peanut butter, toys, and treats. Stop into the store today or visit Safeway.com.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.